Hi everyone, and welcome to the presentation about the past participle agreement. Let's begin with the introduction of its author. She is Andrea Belletti. She's an Italian linguistic and professor at the University of Genova right now. She's also a recognized linguistic investigator and has over 83 publications and 4,700 citations right now in Google Scholar. So let's begin with the introduction of the paper. Belletti says that there are actually two important theories that she has based his work on. One of them are the theory of Pollock about this abstract conception of clause structure and the inflection node of Chomsky. In this case, the inflection node of Chomsky's theory are labeled in two different classifications. The first one that is agreement tense, aspect, mode, voice, and finiteness. And the other classification are the ones that are related to verbal morphology, that are negation, focus, topic, and force. Let's see some examples of Italian in the past agreement. In this, we have sorry, I don't speak Italian, but I will try. L'ho conosciuta ieri. That is, I knew her yesterday. In this case of past participle agreement in structure contains a clitic part in Italian, just in Italian. So we're going to see what a clitic is in a few moments. Let's see how it is present the past participle agreement in Romance languages. In Italian, there are some contexts that are needed in order to get the past participle agreement in a correct way. The first situation that we are going to focus is an accusative verb. Maria è partita. Maria has left. The other is the situation with passive morphology, both on the passive auxiliary and on the lexical verb. Under direct object criticization, el o vista, el leo viste. With reflective and reciprocal critics, with impersonal and passive C. And we're going it the same way as in French. It's kind of the same, but in French, past participle agreement holds in a different context. It is kind of the same classification and qualification from Italian paradigm, but you are going to see a bit more of differences here. The first one is with an accusative verb taking etre, sorry, as a spectral auxiliary. Elles sont venues, if I'm not wrong. They have come. With passive morphology and the lexical verb only. That's a must, only. I don't know how to read that. And the direct object movement via criticization, and WH movement, optional in both cases. And with reflexive and reciprocal clitics. We're going to move into the next part, that is past participle agreement as spec-head agreement. So in this part, Belletti says that the Keynes influential approach to past participle agreement, or better known as PPA, has two categories. The preverbal subject position in the case of accusative and passive, and the clitic landing side on the case of politicization. And of course, it includes the left periphery of the clause in the case of WH movement. We're going to see WH movement in a moment. Let's go with classicization. What is this? It's literally an stress word, typical function word. For example, in English, it can be it can be an article, or something like that, that has no characteristical meaning, but grammar meaning. That is incapable of standing on its own and attaches in pronunciation to on a stress word, which it forms a single accentual unit. For example, we have in French, the arm, something like that. That is the arm in English, or actually in English, with the example of M as they. I see them, I see they, I see them. It gets short and get joined with C. I see them. It's like the same word, kind of. Let's see this phenomenon in both Italian and French. In Italian, if the syntactic verb movement implementation morphological checking takes place obligatorily in the first agreement head, then it will be only optionally if the other past participle agreement is expected obligatory with the third person critic only. This means that if is only present this specialization in the first agreement head, then it will be optionally to see this characteristic in the other third person critic. And it says, well, Belletti says that the optionality of past participle agreement with object critics of all persons in French could then be reduced to a further manifestation of the optionality non-finite finite verb movement in this language. So in French, the difference mainly in both languages is that the verb only move optionally with non-finite morphology in French, and the verb movement is generalized in Italian. So it only has like a few cases in Italian, but it is kind of optional in French. Not any necessary thing in French. Let's talk about the WH movement. It is a formation of syntactic dependencies involving interrogative words. For example, in English, the dependency form between what and the object position of doing in the phrase, what are you doing? What happened about a WH movement in French and Italian? Well, seems like in French is occasionally optional, so it is not obligatory for any context. But in Italian, it actually not happen very often. Actually, Belletti says that this feature never happens, as we can see in the example. Let's go with conclusions. Belletti had two main conclusions about all this article. That the lack of past participle agreement with the external agreement subject of the class is present only in Italian. And the past participle agreement with the external argument subject of the class is optional in French. That's it. Thank you so much. And here's my reference. Thank you.